Hello, everyone.
Ah, well, good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Try to serenade you. This is the beginning. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. Well, tonight we have Jacquie back. For those that missed the podcast, please go to Simply Jewel Atypical Podcast on Spotify. There's 7 different platforms. So please make sure you visit. This is a time where I am flying solo. So bear with me here. I normally talk about different things that goes on in the community. I didn't get a chance to upload it, but we do have a treat for you tonight. This is the Saturday night talk. Only in a perfect world can we uh, do what we want to do when we want to do it. But as you know, that is not the case. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome Jacquie on. Jacquie is the author of Hush Money. Um, you've probably, I hope you got your copy. If not, you rush over there and get your copy on Amazon. She is the number 1 best-selling author on Amazon. Well, the book is number 1. Uh, I don't doubt it. She's got other books coming out. This particular book is about the woman who proved systemic racism in her workplace and kept her job. So, without any further ado, let's bring on Jacquie, shall we?
Hello there.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. I'm trying to spearhead this whole thing. I thought I was in order. My notes are mixed up. So today is one of those days. Just be yourself. It's not all professional. We don't
Mhm.
have I don't have a team. It's just me, myself, and I, and you as the guest tonight.
So you are a one-woman band, is what you're trying to say, right?
A 1 woman band. I'm trying to make changes for 2024. I'm looking forward to it. I'd like to be a little bit more organized where I can see my growth. Um, but yeah, it's crazy. So good to see you. Once again, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. It's been a crazy, hectic
Are you
week,
doing
but
okay tonight?
I am. Can you hear me okay? Jewel, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm actually
Yes, I can
doing,
hear you.
I'm doing all right, Jewel. It's been a crazy, hectic week, but hectic in a good way. And I don't know if we're experiencing
Wow,
a
that's
delay.
good. I follow you. I don't know. Uh-oh, let's see if I can try something different.
Okay.
Someone mentioned that it may be a delay. Let me check another setting. Okay. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine.
How's
Are
that?
you
Is
here?
that better?
It is as long as you can hear me.
You're,
Okay. Are you able to hear me
okay, wait
okay?
1 second. Let me see here. I can hear you. Um,
Okay. It sounds like there might still be a delay, Jewel. So I'm not sure what's happening, but hopefully you can hear me. Just give me a nod.
is that better?
I hear you just fine. Do you
I
hear
can hear
me?
you now. Can you hear me?
Hmm. Okay, perfect. So I am doing fine. Like I said, it's been
Yes, is
a
it? I
super,
guess I'm trying to figure out if it's a delay.
yeah, it looks like there may be a delay. Should I come out and come back in? Do you think that might help?
Um, I don't think so. I'm not certain. I'm trying to figure out what the problem would be. I can hear you though.
Okay. Well, then I'm just going to keep talking. It looks like we're kind of talking over each other because of a delay, but I will just keep talking, okay? So, yeah, like I said, it's been a super hectic week, but hectic in a good way.
Okay.
There's been a lot
And what
going
I'll
on.
do, oh wow. Yeah, I follow you and I don't know how you keep up. So that's a lot. But I marvel what you're doing. Excuse me. I know it's a lot of work and these platforms are very busy. Um Everybody's trying to do their own thing. So hopefully we all can come together at least once a month and share. But I was hoping, we can all collaborate eventually. But let's let the audience know you're no stranger. We're no stranger to one another. Um, we actually have uh, met each other walking and talking. So what I'm going to do is, you know, let you have the floor, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and I'm going to put on my avatar just so we can maybe speed up. I once saw where I can put on my avatar and that catches up the speed where we're not delayed.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Go ahead, Jackie. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, I do want to thank you for inviting me onto your show, giving me your platform, allowing me to engage with your audience. I figured I would do something a little unique tonight. But for those of you who are not familiar with me or my work, I am Jacquie Abram. I am the international best-selling and award-winning author of Hush Money: How One Woman Proved Systemic Racism in Her Workplace and Kept Her Job. This is a book that I wrote from a very dark place. This was at the end of my nearly 20-year career in higher education. And I was so psychologically damaged from the experiences of racism in the workplace that I endured throughout my entire career. So by the end of my career, like I said, I was so psychologically damaged that, I was contemplating homicide. My one of my bosses is thankful they're still alive today because I was in a very dark place. But here's the thing, even though I experienced a lot of trauma over that nearly 20-year period, I actually knew how to fight back. I was exceptional at fighting back and taking down these racist organizations. I was exceptional. In fact, I took down, about a half a dozen racist organizations, and never walked away from a single job empty handed. I collected those six-figure settlements, and I was exceptional at fighting back. I was just tired. I was racially exhausted. I was tired of having to fight for a career that other people seem to get freely and seem to be able to keep long term. And so that's where Hush Money came from. Hush Money tells about my experiences in one organization, but it's different than a lot of the other great, books about systemic racism that are out there, in that Hush Money is one of a kind because as I'm telling you my story, and you're learning about all of the racism that I experienced and all of the trauma that I felt and all of the mistakes that I made, you also learn the strategy that I repeatedly used as I ran from company to company to company, looking for a place where I could not just survive working while Black, but also thrive. And as my environments changed, I got smarter. And so what I did was I put everything that I knew in this one organization and how I fought back into the pages of Hush Money. So I'm actually giving you a strategy on what you can do in your organizations right now to fight back and change the trajectory of what's happening to you. And there's not another book out there like it. And that's why Hush Money has done so exceptionally well. It's a number one Amazon bestseller in Black and African American uh, fiction, Christian fiction. It's it's about to be number one in diversity and inclusion books on Amazon. We are number five out of, over 100,000 books. I think it's like 300,000 books. So we're about to claim number one in that area as well. We're number one on Goodreads and Best Eye-Opening African American Women's Fiction. Number one in books to improve your social justice awareness on racism. Number one in best female, Black female protagonist. Number one in several other categories. Hush Money is the recipient of the gold medal for social issues novels. And so it has just gone so much further than I ever imagined it would, having been self-published and selling this book literally from the trunk of my car in Colorado Springs, because I'm not a seasoned writer. My daughters are not seasoned writers. We really, at the time that we started this project, didn't really know how to write this book and then how to market it. So we just did what came naturally to us. I sold it from the trunk of my car in parks and pop-up shops. And by the grace of God, 7 months later, it was an international best-selling and award-winning book that was being read in dozens of countries, and people in countries that I didn't even know had Black people were using my strategies and winning their settlements. Black woman in France, several months ago, just won her settlement. Several people in the UK used my strategies, went up against the tribunal, won their awards. People in the US winning their awards. And it's just such an amazing, amazing feeling to know that, these strategies that I created out of necessity as I was fighting for myself are now changing the lives of so many. So I'm going to do two things tonight. I'd like to do a little bit of reading from Hush Money just to give you a feel for how the book flows. And then I'm going to share a little bit of another book that I was involved with helping to write and publish. And I'll tell you about that in just a minute. But let me just dive into, and I'm working from two monitors. So this is the reason I'm looking this way. I'm going to bring my manuscript over here. And I'm going to do just a little bit of reading for you. Sound good, Joel?
Sounds great. Thank you.
All
I think
right.
that people don't know this is a treat. This is a treat. So I'm just going to sit by the side and let you have your way.
All
Okay?
right. So, sounds great to me. All right. So, chapter 1 of Hush Money. And again, let me just show you the book one more time. This is Hush Money, How One Woman Proved Systemic Racism in Her Workplace and Kept Her Job. This is one of 3 books that I have written. And this is the very first book that starts the Hush Money series. So, chapter 1 goes like this. Chapter 1 is called Things Were Great in the Beginning. It was a chilly morning in the city of Austin, Texas, on the day my life was changed. I was sitting at the dining table with Mom, sipping a cup of coffee and browsing the want ads in the newspaper as she read the headline news. Mom, a beautiful woman born in Shreveport, Louisiana, was 51 years old with a taller than average height, a slender physique, caramel color skin as smooth as silk, and glistening green eyes. She had long, shiny black hair, dressed with a modest elegance, and had a personality that could charm a poisonous snake. Mom adopted me when I was born and named me Ebony to highlight the beauty she saw in my dark skin. And although I didn't look anything like her, she was an amazing parent to me and was great in so many ways. The want ads, on the other hand, were not so great. Jobs that I was qualified for and that also paid well were far and few between. And I was tired of working dead end jobs that made it hard to make ends meet. As I wadded the want ads into a ball, Mom sensed my frustration, put down her newspaper, and placed her hand on top of mine. You can stay long as you like, Ebony, she said with love in her eyes. But don't worry, God has a way of working things out. Mom's words were encouraging, but it was her gentle touch that comforted me the most. And I was at a point in my life where I really needed comforting. At 28 years old, I was going through a divorce, living with Mom in her small 1-bedroom apartment, and trying to get my son back from what was supposed to be a summer vacation in New York with his father. As I thanked Mom for her support, the phone rang. It was a call from a woman at the temp agency I had signed up with 2 weeks earlier. Type Run Career Institute needs a secretary, she said. It's a temp position that pays $16.83 an hour, the equivalent of $35,000 a year. Are you interested? Heck yeah, that's a lot of moolah, I thought to myself before calmly verbalizing my interest. And that's where my story begins, with the call that changed my life in the best way, but also the worst way. The call that began my 6-figure career in higher education and my descent into racial discrimination hell. When I hung up the phone, I was smiling from ear to ear and couldn't wait to share the good news with Mom. Mom was thrilled. I told you, God has a way of working things out, she said. All you got to do is believe. The temp assignment wasn't a full-time job and didn't have any real benefits, so you're probably wondering why I was so excited. The reason is really quite simple. For the first time in my life, I had gotten my foot in the door with a company that had real career potential. Deborah Career Institute was a popular for-profit college with multiple campuses located in the United States, including several campuses in the state of Texas. I had seen Deborah's commercials on television and even considered enrolling in one of their degree programs. Working in higher education, even as a temp, was a step in the right direction as far as I was concerned. In January 2012, my journey at Deborah's main campus began in the same city where I lived, and from the very first day, it felt like home. Everything from the environment to the type of work I was doing was amazing. I was in perfect sync with the chancellor, Dr. Hunter Hall, a professional, distinguished looking man in his 50s who exuded confidence and was as tall as a pro basketball player. He was a handsome man with tan skin, fashionably styled salt and pepper hair, and an athletic physique. His eyes were greener than an emerald, and there was a warmth and kindness about him that immediately put me at ease. Although Dr. Hall was the most powerful person on campus, he took me under his wing and treated me much like the father figure I'd never had. I developed an instant respect for him and used the computer skills I taught myself at a safe house for abused women to impress him. And impressed he was. He was amazed with my ability to manage budgets, prepare meeting minutes, and develop presentations, and he showed his appreciation every day. I enjoyed my job and plan to work for Dr. Hall and Deborah for many years to come. After working on my temp assignment for 2 months, Dr. Hall called me to his office to meet with him. "You're the best assistant I've ever had," he said with a smile. "I'm the only one that reminds me of a Nubian queen I saw in a movie yesterday." "Thank you," I said with a slight giggle. "It's my braids, isn't it?" I had been styling my hair in dookie braids for the last 2 years because they were easy to do, and I always received so many compliments. "Yes, it's your braids," he said with a warm smile. Then he said he was going to buy out my contract with the temp agency and hire me permanently. "How does senior secretary sound?" he said with a grin. "It comes with a $5,000 raise." "That sounds amazing," I exclaimed as I jumped up and gave him a hug. When I left his office, I was on top of the world and couldn't believe how quickly my hard work had paid off. In a matter of months, I had a full-time job that paid $40,000 a year and came with excellent benefits, including 100% tuition reimbursement. I couldn't wait to tell Mom the good news, so I called her at work. "Mom," I exclaimed, "you'll never guess in a million years what happened." "You win the lotto, child?" "No, something better. Dr. Hall hired me full-time and gave me a $5,000 raise." "I'm so proud of you, honey. God is good. I wish I could talk more, but gotta get back to them machines." I could feel Mom smile through the phone as she hung up and went back to work. Mom was a machinist and made $11 an hour, standing on her feet operating machines for 10 hours a day, 4 days a week. Standing for that many hours a day would be hard for anyone, but for Mom it was especially hard because of her age and health issues. Now that I had a permanent job that paid well, my hope was that I could eventually take care of her so she didn't have to work so hard. Shortly after hanging up with Mom, Dr. Hall called me back to his office. "I want you to start managing my incoming email," he said. "I'll get too much and there's not enough hours in the day to respond." The next day, we met with the director of IT, and Dr. Hall instructed her to provide me with access to his email account so I could start managing it in a clandestine way. And even though she expressed concerns about providing me with access, she gave it to me anyway, and I began managing Dr. Hall's incoming email that day. I felt so important. I was privy to confidential executive level information, making important decisions on Dr. Hall's behalf, and doing my best to ensure that no one suspected that it was me and not Dr. Hall who was in control of his email account. Things were great in the beginning, but then rumors began to spread throughout the campus that it was little old me and not Dr. Hall who was creating the responses coming from his email account. The rumors spread like wildfire and caused such an uproar that within days, dignitaries from Deborah's parent company corporate were at our campus interviewing employees. And when it was my turn to be interviewed, I was terrified. I felt like I was standing in front of a firing squad, both figuratively and literally. How long have you been pretending to be Dr. Hall? A man asked. What else were you doing for Dr. Hall? Another man rudely asked. Did you knowingly violate our IT security policy? A woman asked. The questions came from left and right, and although I responded honestly, their stoic demeanor made me feel like Dr. Hall's job wasn't the only one at risk. The corporate reps continued grilling me for about an hour, and I was sweating bullets the whole time. Then I was finally released, and as I walked back to my cubicle, all eyes were on me, and I felt ashamed, even though I didn't think I had done anything wrong. After what seemed like an eternity, corporate emailed an organizational announcement to all staff and faculty stating that Dr. Hall had resigned for personal reasons from his position as chancellor. When I received the email in my inbox, I was crushed because Dr. Hall was the best boss I ever had. And as I drove home, I experienced a rainbow of emotions. I was sad Dr. Hall was gone, happy I still had my job, worried about reporting to a new boss, and hopeful my future with Deborah would still be bright. 2 weeks later, Mia Kelly, Dr. Hall's replacement as the new chancellor, arrived on campus, and my hopes for a bright future at Deborah were instantly dashed. Miss Kelly was the polar opposite of Dr. Hall. She was a statuesque woman in her 40s with cream-colored skin, shoulder-length wavy blonde hair, and vivid blue eyes that could melt the polar ice caps. She was as tall as a runway model, wore fitted dresses with high-heel strappy sandals, and had a way of looking at me that sent chills down my spine. Perhaps the biggest difference between Dr. Hall and Miss Kelly was that Dr. Hall liked and respected me, and Miss Kelly, on the other hand, despised me and made sure I knew it during our first one-on-one meeting in her office. Listen, Agony, she said with a low, sultry voice. Ebony, ma'am, I nervously replied, interrupting her. My name is Ebony. Okay, Ebony, what are you, 4 feet tall? No, I'm 5'4". Well, that's not tall enough, Agony. Wear higher heels. Towering over you makes my back hurt. I'm a petite woman by nature and was already wearing 2-inch high heels. So the idea that wearing higher heels would keep her from towering over me was laughable. And I did laugh because I thought she was joking. This was a mistake. Oh, yes, I heard about you, she said, donning a wide smile as she stared at me. You're the reason my predecessor is gone. That's not true, I declared with eyes as big as saucers. I don't know where this is coming from. Have I done something wrong? She didn't say a word. She just leaned back in her chair and continued staring at me like I was an alien she wanted to explore. I didn't know what to say or do, so I sat there speechless and awkwardly staring back. After 2 of the longest minutes I had ever experienced, she motioned me to leave, and I couldn't get out of there fast enough. The next few months were particularly difficult, as Miss Kelly tried to break me like I was a wild horse she was determined and eager to tame. She humiliated me in meetings on a daily basis, degraded and dehumanized me with threats and fear, took away the computer duties I enjoyed, and reduced my job to getting her coffee and running errands. I'll never forget the day Miss Kelly summoned me to her office where she was entertaining visitors from a sister campus. When I walked in, all eyes were locked on me, and I felt that I was the topic of much conversation. Meet Agony, my poor excuse for a secretary, she said as she flipped her hair back. No one said a word, and the silence in the room was deafening. As everyone stared at me, I was frozen, too humiliated to move or even say what my correct name was. I just stood there like a deer caught in the headlights. Well, Agony, what are you waiting for? She asked, raising her eyebrows at me. Can't you see we need coffee? At that moment, I found just enough strength to turn around and walk out before bursting into tears. Then I ducked into the bathroom and called Mom. She's trying to break me, I said in between sobs. I don't know how much longer I can last. It breaks my heart to hear you hurting, honey, Mom replied. But don't make waves. What did I do to make her hate me so much? You didn't do anything. We've been dealing with this crap our whole lives. She don't want you there 'cause you're black, but don't quit. Don't lose your good job over this, okay? Mom could tell I was still distraught, so she left me with one final thought to ponder. I know it seems like she's in control, but I promise you, it only seems that way. God's in control, and He knows what you're going through. Mom's reminder about God comforted me. So after hanging up the phone, I asked God to give me strength, then went to the break room to make coffee. Afterwards, I took the cups of fresh coffee to Miss Kelly's office, distributed them to each person, and quickly left. When I returned to my cubicle, I decided to educate myself on workplace harassment because knowledge is power, and I needed to know if there was anything I could do to legally make it stop. I did some research and discovered that harassment, according to the EEOC, consists of unwelcome conduct based on a protected class, such as race or skin color. It becomes illegal when the conduct is so severe and pervasive that it creates a work environment that is intimidating, hostile, or abusive. Although Ms. Kelly had created a work environment that was intimidating, hostile, and abusive, the majority of her actions, from what I could tell, were not based on a protected class and therefore were not illegal. And since I couldn't afford to quit my job, I continued reporting to her and suffering in silence for 10 long months. That is until the day she summoned me to her office for what I knew was to be fired. So after taking my personal belongings to my car, I went to her office, sat down at her desk, and braced myself for the worst. Agony, she said with a smug look on her face. I hired a new secretary. And since I don't need 2 secretaries, I know I'm fired. I said, interrupting her train of thought. I just don't know what I'm going to tell my son. Son? She asked as her ears perked up. You have a child? Yes, I replied as my eyes filled with tears. I'm trying to save enough money to get him back from New York. Hmm, I didn't know that. You walk around here acting like everything is rainbows, bubblegum, and unicorns, she said. I don't know if it was the knowledge that I was a mother, struggling financially, or that I had a son that touched Miss Kelly. But as I spoke, the smug look on her face disappeared before my eyes, and her icy heart seemed to thaw a little that day. Then she leaned back in her chair, crossed her toned legs, and sighed. Ebony, you're not fired, she said. We have an opening in the student finance department. If you want to transfer, we'll see how you do. It's a demotion and your salary will be reduced. But if you want it, it's yours. I don't know what shocked me more, that I still had a job or that she finally said my name right. But as I sat there, tears began rolling down my cheeks as I silently cried. When I left her office, I went back to my cubicle and thanked God that I still had my job because I was still making more money than I had made in previous jobs, even with the reduced salary. The next day, I transferred to the student finance department where I was the only Black employee. My annual salary was reduced to $37,000 and my title was changed to student finance advisor. As I sat in my new office and reflected on my first year of employment, I could hardly believe how fast my dream job turned into a nightmare, simply because there was a change in leadership from a great boss to a horrific one. But now that I no longer reported to Miss Kelly, I was confident that there would be nothing but sunshine and blue skies ahead of my career. Or so I thought. And that's the end of chapter 1 of Hush Money. So, Jewel, you want to join me back on stage and we can just talk a little bit about that? Okay.
Yes, I enjoyed that a lot. But now, what do you think? Let me ask you this. Do you find EEOC helpful?
So, anyone who knows me, okay, knows that when I fight racism in the workplace, I never, ever like to go the EEOC route. I always encourage people to go the state route. And I've just had such success with going through the civil rights division of the state as opposed to going to the EEOC on the Fed side.
I just wanted to ask that in case somebody was watching in the background.
Mhm.
Um, love the book. I really love the book. Thank you so much for sharing. People are missing out. Right when you think people are going to show up and show out,
Mhm.
you never know who's watching in the trenches, but
Right.
that is now archived and a great I, encore. I enjoyed it.
Well, and I'll tell you, Jewel, that
Yes.
my life has
Yeah.
changed in so many ways since writing Hush Money. Um, Most people are now finding out that I have opened a consultancy. So, in addition to being an international best-selling and award-winning author, I actually am an employee's workplace discrimination consultant, and I actually work with employees so that they can fight back against the racism that they're experiencing in the workplace or the discrimination because they're dealing with a toxic boss. And we actually work together to get them their settlements, get them their just rewards, the things that they so richly deserve. Because a lot of times what happens is, as Black people, we know that we're experiencing racism, or we know that something is not quite right. But if you want to get an attorney to take your case on, you have to be able to present what's happening to you in a way that they can easily make a decision within, a 1 hour time frame about whether or not to take you on as a client. And a lot of people, sadly, don't know how to put that package together enough to impress an attorney into wanting to take a chance on you. Because more times than not, that attorney is going to take you on under a contingency basis, which means that they don't get paid anything up front. They actually have to settle your case and or win your case. And so they're doing that on the back end. They're doing all of this work, but they're doing it on the back end. And so within an hour, they have to look at your situation and make a decision on whether or not they think they can win your case, because they're not going to get paid anything up front in most cases. And so that's where I come in. I actually do the mud work. I work with the employee. I get a feel of what they're experiencing. I review their evidence. I teach them how to collect new evidence. I work with them in the trenches, and then I prepare the package. But by the time I'm done preparing that package, you really don't need an attorney. You can do this all on your own with me. And so when you think about all of the cases that I've won, like I said, I've taken down about a half a dozen racist organizations, racist employers, and I never walked away from a job empty-handed. I got that hush money, okay? I got that hush money repeatedly. But after watching what an attorney did for me, I figured I don't need an attorney. I can do this myself. And so as I kept taking down these organizations, there was no one to split my money with, which made me quite happy.
I know that's right. That's wonderful. Because I know it's a lot of work, and
It is.
people do not like work. They don't want to put, as my dad would say, you got to put some elbow grease into it. But it's hard, and especially if you're not in a good headspace, you don't know which way to go. So I
And my
marvel
experience,
all your work.
thank you. And my experience is it's not necessarily that all of the work that it requires in order to go forward. It's that they really don't know how. They know that they're going through something at work, but trying to articulate it in such a way and put your evidence in such an order that it is easily understandable by an attorney who's only going to spend about an hour with you to make a decision on whether or not to take you on as a client. That's a lot to ask someone who doesn't really know how to do that. And so I knew that there was a need for someone who could step in, be the middle person between the employee and an attorney if they decided to go with an attorney. And that's where I come in. I lay everything out so polished and perfect that if you did want an attorney, it dramatically increases your chances of getting one. But again, by the time we are done working together, you really don't need an attorney. You can fight this battle yourself.
Yes, yes. Yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad that you are able to help. And do you have a huge clientele, or I know you're picking up and you're just getting started.
Well, I just made the
How's
official
that going for
announcement.
you?
I just made the official announcement 24 hours ago. So in 24 hours, I've already brought on 10 new clients.
Oh,
Yes. So that is very, very, very exciting.
yes, that's very good. And
Mhm.
you know what I read today? Let me find my notes.
Mhm.
I read uh, now you are in another category. You are
Yes.
in the business diversity category.
Mhm.
Congratulations on that.
Thank
How do
you.
you feel
Yes.
about that?
I feel fabulous. I mean, it's great to be number one in any category as a number one Amazon bestseller. But when I saw that, it hit me, especially uh, thrilling and hard because um, my book is being looked at as a way to help people, improve and organizations improve in diversity and inclusion. And so that really just gave a special tug at my heart because what hush money does is it really opens the eyes of the reader. For the person experiencing racism, it actually shows them what modern day racism has become because it's covert, it's hidden, it's harder to prove. And so, oftentimes, when you're experiencing it, you can't tell that what you're experiencing is racism. And so, for the person going through racial discrimination, hush money validates their experiences and lets them know that it's not in their head. They're not going crazy. This is really happening to them, and this is what it's called. To the person who's never experienced racism, it actually it actually allows them to see and feel and smell our circumstances in a real and authentic way. So as you're going through Ebony's 5-year journey in book 1, you are experiencing what she's going through as if it's happening to you or to someone close to you. And when you come out of her journey, your eyes are wide open and you now have a better understanding as an ally or an abolitionist or an accomplice how you can show up for your Black women, your Black men that are in these toxic workplaces. And that is huge.
That is huge. That is. I'm loving it. Well, you've got a comment there from a Belinda Rezer. Is I don't know if she's a follower of yours or not, but she said she joined late and she
Mhm.
wanted to hear about hush money because it is always hush hush in suits.
Mhm. So you are
Yes.
absolutely right.
So
And that's
that
why
is
Oh, we're talking over each other again with the delay. But she's absolutely right. Hush Money is a one
oh
of a kind book because, as Belinda said, most oftentimes when a person is successful in fighting back against the racism that they are experiencing, before that company gives them that big hush money check to skip on down the road with, they're going to give them something else. They're going to make them sign an NDA, which is a non disclosure agreement, or a confidentiality agreement. They're going to do that to buy your silence and guarantee your silence so that you can't go out and tell the world what happened to you. And that's why there's never been a book like Hush Money written before. But like I said, in the various organizations that I took down, yes, I got their hush money. I signed their NDA and their confidentiality agreements, but I still found a way to go out and tell the world what happened to me by creating an avatar that I call Ebony and letting the world experience what happened to me through Ebony. And that's why I am able to successfully tell the world what happened to me, share my strategies, create other warriors like me, other people who are now reading and adopting my strategies and going out and fighting and winning. That's how I'm able to do that, because I found a way to fictionalize my story so that those racist devil organizations could not come at me legally. And I have to laugh because some of them have reached out to me on LinkedIn because they know I'm talking about them, right? They know it and they've reached out to me. But the funny thing is, they will never come forward and tell the world that I'm talking about their organization, because number one, that means they're violating our NDA confidentiality agreement, not me. And so if they do that, that gives me credibility and my book sales will skyrocket. And they know that. And so they'll never come forward and say, this happened to her in our organization. But it's hilarious when they contact me on LinkedIn. I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh my goodness. Um, that's good. I'm just so excited you're here. And if anybody wants to come on the platform, let's see. Let me share the link on YouTube. I don't think I did that yet, but this is a good time to add your link on YouTube. If anybody
Okay.
wants to get the link, please go to YouTube. And Jackie, uh, bear with me, please. I need to add that on real quick.
Oh,
Are
no
we
worries.
still buffering, or is there still a delay?
I can't tell if there's a delay. I
All
know there
right,
were a
I'm
few
putting it.
moments where we were talking over each other.
Okay, I'm gonna put the link. It's now on YouTube. Um, okay, and here's another question. If you'd like to come on, Belinda, she's asking, what are the ways in which you have helped others to do what you do?
So that is an excellent question, Belinda. And the start of that answer to that question is by writing Hush Money and laying out my strategies. And so, one of the strategies that I teach people is that the E in email stands for evidence. And so, one of the very first things that you want to do to protect your career is learn how to weaponize email. Email is a powerful weapon in fighting back against these racist, toxic leaders. And so, let me just kind of explain a little bit about what that looks like. So, oftentimes, when you have a job, and you do something that's wonderful and great. You know, you may do 20 different things in a month that are great, okay? And people are giving you verbal compliments along the way. But with those verbal compliments, if you're not taking that verbal compliment and turning it into something written and tangible, when the racism starts, and maybe it starts because your boss that you were having this great relationship with leaves, and now you've got a new boss, or someone in a higher position leaves, and now someone comes in, and now they're noticing you. Okay, they're noticing you. When the leadership changes, you are always at risk. And one of the first things that this racist leader will do is paint you as an incompetent employee who doesn't know how to do her job. And so, if you've been working and the only thing you've been collecting are these verbal compliments that were happening to you along the way, telling you that you were doing a good job, then when the racism starts and they start painting you as an incompetent employee, it's your word against theirs. But if you've taken those verbal compliments that you were getting along the way and you convert those into written, tangible evidence, it paints a powerful picture. So let me give you an example of what that looks like. If Jewel and I were walking down the hallway together, and Jewel said, Jacquie, great job on that presentation you gave on covert racism this morning. When she gives me that compliment, I'm going to thank her, and then I'm going to run back to my computer. I'm going to open up an email. In the subject, I'm going to say, thank you. And then I'm going to say, hey, Jewel, just a quick note to thank you for the compliment you gave me in the hallway this morning on the presentation I gave on covert racism that day. I really appreciate your compliment. It meant so much to me. Now, she sees that email from you and she thinks it's harmless, right? And she may respond back and say, no problem, you deserved it. Or she may not say anything at all. She may not even respond. But that's okay, because now you've got a written piece of evidence that shows on this date, at this time, you were doing a great job. And if you take all those verbal compliments over the months and you turn them into evidence, it paints a powerful picture about your performance, not only when the racism starts, but during performance review time, when now all of a sudden your boss is saying there are all these things you need to work on. But during this period leading up to this performance review, none of that stuff was mentioned. And in fact, she was giving you compliments. It really paints a powerful picture. It's also important for when the crap starts. Let me give you an example of what that looks like. I helped, and I won't tell you who it is, but I helped a woman that I know, someone near and dear to me, get a 6-figure settlement. It was well over 6 figures after working in this organization for less than a year. Okay. But the reason it was so powerful is because she followed my instructions in hush money to the letter. I mean, to the letter. And there was a point in her experience where she was trying to get promoted in this organization that she worked in, okay? And she finally got promoted after all this crap that she went through. But when they promoted her, they put her in a location where they didn't give her a team. So she was a one-woman band in a big organization where she's got to do the jobs of 4 people. Okay, so she's doing 4 different jobs to keep this location running. She was carrying a workload that no human can carry. And when she complained to her boss, he had the nerve to tell her, look, I was willing to take a chance on you because none of these other campuses wanted anything to do with you. They say you're an emotional Black woman and, nobody wanted to deal with you. I was willing to take a chance on you. So I need you to stop complaining and just do your job, because I was the only one willing to take a chance on you. So this is a verbal conversation that he's having with her. So she calls me in tears and she's freaking out. And I said, you've got to turn that into tangible evidence. And she said, I can't, I don't want to send. I said, if you don't, you're not going to get a settlement. You have to do what I'm telling you to do. So she did. She sent him an email. She worded it exactly the way I told her to. And basically she said, I just want to say thank you for taking a chance on me when no one else would. I appreciate you sharing that information with me. And it was a little disheartening to hear that the other people think that I'm an emotional Black woman, but I do really appreciate you taking a chance on me. So, the way that she framed it, it's not contentious. It's not scary. He gets it and he doesn't say anything, But now she's got this tangible piece of evidence because he didn't dispute telling her that I said this to you. And that's how you weaponize email, because that was powerful in us getting to that six-figure settlement. So excellent question, Belinda. Oh, and I see we've got another comment from Belinda that you just flashed up on the screen. It went away. I don't see it now, but it popped up for a minute. Belinda said, I love how you said when the racism starts, and I fully understand. It suggests inevitability, absolutely. And I want you to know that for some, it is frequently inevitable for some of us. My career has been derailed 5 times in nearly 20 years. So think about that for a minute, Belinda, okay? Think about that. You get this good job. You've got everything that you need to provide for and feed your family. You are good at this job. You enjoy this job. And then a racist sees you, notices you, and starts to target you. Now, you are being targeted by one racist, but because of that racist position in that organization, they have power, influence, and authority. And so, because of those 3 things, they inspire others in the organization to conspire with them. And now, Belinda, you're not dealing with just one racist targeting you, you are dealing with a whole bunch of people who are all working together to kill your career. And you would be shocked at who some of those people are. When you are working in a toxic environment, HR is your worst nightmare because this racist leader has inspired HR to be in cahoots with him or her. And so now HR is aiding and abetting this racist leader as he kills your career. But it might surprise you that other Black people, some of the worst bosses I had throughout my career were Black women. And that's because they upheld a white supremacist ideology. And then my own employees, while I was at lunch, this racist leader was meeting with somebody on my team and promising him my job. And so now he has incentivized my employee to come after me, to start complaining about me, to start saying I'm doing all this unethical stuff that I know I'm not doing, checking my comings and goings and reporting all of this stuff to this racist leader. And so that's typically what happens. One person targets you, but then they immediately inspire other people in that organization. And they're all working together to kill your career, to get you out of that job. And so oftentimes, and in my case, you find yourself out of a job, right? You run from that job because you're Black, okay? And when you get over here to this next job, guess what? You're still Black. And you're going to experience the same thing over here. But see, with me, though, I may run from this job and I may not have money and I may find myself homeless, which happened to me repeatedly. But I always went back and fought because I knew how to fight. And I encourage anybody to go back and fight. Quit running away from these jobs empty-handed. Because let me tell you, when you get that big 6-figure settlement, okay, it allows you to heal. It allows you to get out of the fire, to take a break before you run to the next racist devil, because we're in a racist society. You were Black over here, and when you ran to that next company, you were still Black. Okay. And the same thing is going to happen. But there's something very satisfying about not only going back and fighting and getting that hush money, but then watching the very people who got you out of your job lose theirs because companies frown upon paying these big settlements. They do not want to pay these they frown upon that. Okay. They don't want to pay these big settlements. So when they have to go deep in their pockets, they go back and deal with the people that cause them to have to go deep into their pockets. And that is very satisfying to me to watch those same people who set me up, okay, who turned me into a black workhorse, okay, who silently sabotaged me, now lose their jobs and now face the same fears that they put on me.
Yeah, it's really something. I see Belinda is really engaging. I noticed that not a subscriber. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. She also says failure to launch happens to really amazing people, um, because sometimes you, as a person of color, are not supposed to be that brilliant, capable, and extraordinary. Well, I don't know about the word supposed to be, because we all know that we are brilliant, capable,
Mhm.
and extraordinary. What do you
Right.
say? She did say something else. Did you actually file, go to court and win, or settle before court?
In every single situation that I have been
Well,
in,
you missed the podcast. So if you
yeah, it looks like there's still a delay. But
go
in
ahead and finish answer, you want to answer that question?
Sure, in every situation that I've had, okay, I have never set foot in a courtroom. The organizations always settle out of court. And here's the reason why. If you are diligent with collecting your evidence and setting these organizations up the way they're setting you up, they know that if you have to go to court, it's going to become public knowledge. And when it becomes public knowledge, it damages their character and their reputation as organizations and as employers. And so they always settle. They never go the distance. There's never an actual court trial. And that's the methods that I teach in my books. So, Belinda, if you haven't read Hush Money and you're experiencing racism or, quite frankly, any type of discrimination in your workplace, this is going to be a really good place for you to start learning how to fight back because, again, I've laid out my strategy on how I took down this one particular organization in Hush Money. And there's actually two books, Belinda. These two books go together. So, the purple one is the start of it, Hush Money, how one woman proved systemic racism in her workplace and kept her job. And then the sequel to that actually picks up where book one left off. It's called Hush Money, The Cost of Being Black in Corporate America. And so these two books go together. Originally, I wasn't planning on splitting the books up, but I'll be honest with you. By the time that my daughters and I were finished writing book one, I was so triggered by reliving everything that happened to me in that one organization that I had to step away. I had to stop, decompress, de escalate, and then go back after I, calmed myself down enough because it was very triggering writing these books. And Belinda, I don't know if you've looked at any of my earlier interviews. Um, my earlier interviews, I was a hot, hot mess. I could not make it through a single interview for about a year without breaking down and crying, just sometimes hysterically, as I tried to explain to people what I went through, or as I was reading my book to folks. I have since started healing because, oh, that's awesome. I hope you subscribed to me as well. Um, because I do a lot of training on my YouTube channel, Belinda. So you'll find a lot of trainings where I break down covert racism. I explain to people why what's happening to us is not unconscious. It's unconscionable in a lot of cases. And so I really break it down, and I provide a lot of training material on my YouTube channel. But, I can say that what put me on the path to healing, where I can now talk strongly, step into the power of what happened to me, turn that pain that I went through into power for other people to learn from and adopt those strategies, is because I allowed myself to start talking about it. For the longest time, I lost my voice, and I was kind of, I became small, and I sunk into the shadows, and I lost my confidence. And it took talking about what happened to me, not worrying about what people thought, not listening to some people in your own family that are saying, quit talking about all that stuff. The more I talked about it, the more I discovered that there were a lot of other people like me who were going through the same thing. And that's how I was able to finally get to the point where I am today, where I can read my book and not break out into hysterical tears, which I still do sometimes. But I can also, now, be this warrior for other people. Where they are weak, I can be strong. Where they know what they're going through, but they don't know how to write a discrimination complaint, I can step in. Where they know what they're going through, but they don't know how to collect evidence, I can teach them. I can review the evidence that they have collected. I can mentor them. I'm kind of like an on-call doctor, to be honest with you. People, these clients, I just opened my consultancy and made it official about 24 hours ago. And I've already brought on 10 new clients in that 24-hour period. And what I do, it's me and my daughter, we are like on-call doctors. We are available. So not only do we give you the emotional support that you need, we're giving you the strategy, we're teaching you along the way, but we're doing the legwork for you, and we're fighting back. And it's just such a rewarding experience. And Belinda, thank you for purchasing Hush Money. I cannot wait for you to read them. And then when you're done, reach out to me on YouTube or LinkedIn is where I'm at all the time. You can send an email to me. My email is hushmoneyseries. So Hush Money Series, like the World Series, hushmoneyseries@gmail.com. And if you want to actually have a one-on-one conversation with me, Belinda, so we can talk about what you read in Hush Money, or anyone else who decides to buy my books, I would love to have a one-on-one conversation with you. And I'll send you a link so that you can talk to me directly. Sounds good. I see that you said you'll reach out to me soon. Sounds great. Now, Jewel, on Saturday, so this next Saturday,
Yeah.
I've got Mark Talley, who I'm going to be talking to on YouTube and LinkedIn. And in case anyone doesn't know who Mark Talley is, Mark Talley is a Black man who lives in Buffalo, New York. And he reached out to me on LinkedIn one day. And he said, I read your books. And I said, okay. And he said, I really like how raw your books are. I was able to, you know, really experience what you went through. And I was like, yes, thank you. Thank you. And he said, I don't know if you know who I am. And he said, but my mom, she was shopping for bologna and cheese for the waterfront picnic that she was going to the next day. And while she was in the store buying bologna and cheese, she's 62, an 18-year-old racist came into the store with a semi-automatic rifle and shot. He wanted to kill as many Black people as he could that day. And so he went through and just started spraying bullets everywhere in that grocery store and killing all of these Black people. And the last person he found in the grocery aisle was Mark's mom. And he shot his mom in the head twice. And Mark watched the whole thing on Facebook because the racist streamed it live. And so he had a lot of rage. So remember how I was telling you that towards the end of my career, I was contemplating homicide because I was so traumatized by what kept happening to me? Well, in Mark's case, he had all of that darkness and that he was feeling inside him too. And he knew that he was going to hurt somebody if he didn't find a way to do something with all that darkness that you feel when you're going through something like that. So he reached out to me and he said, can you help me tell what happened? Can you help me help the world see what happened to my family and my mom the way you did it in Hush Money? Can you help me? And I said, yes. And so Mark and I worked together and we wrote his book. And his book is called 514 because this happened on May 14th, 2022. It's called 514, The Day the Devil Came to Buffalo. And so I'm going to be reading a couple of chapters from his book on Saturday. But I thought, Jewel, if you want, I can give you a little bit of a teaser today. Now, Mark is going to be on the stage with me, and we're going to be having a great, just a raw conversation. And so if you want to meet Mark, you need to subscribe to my YouTube channel and then set the notification to remind you of this event that's coming up on Saturday because it's going to be powerful. Reverend Al Sharpton and the National Action Network sponsored his book because it's just so powerful. And so you definitely want to join us on Saturday for that. But I thought I would just give you a little
that I'm
teaser.
going to miss that.
It'll be recorded, so it'll be on my YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch the replay.
Yes, a teaser would be.
Do you want a little bit of
Yeah,
a
a
teaser?
teaser would be nice because I am going to miss that. So if you would like to read and give us a little teaser tonight, I would appreciate it because I'm going to miss Saturday. I'm free after 1, but I see that you are on early morning, like 9 to, and I'm not available until 1. So yes, I'll let you have the floor. And then
Wonderful. And anyone
for
who can.
those that are looking for your information,
Mhm.
I yeah, and I'll put it in the subscription boxes or down below.
That sounds
Okay,
good.
Jackie, I'll let you have the floor whenever you're ready. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, so I'll just read just a tiny bit, just to give you a little bit of teaser. And meeting Mark is just a real treat. He's just an amazing young man, and you definitely want to support him. So hopefully, this teaser that I give you tonight will motivate you to go on Amazon and purchase his book, 514, The Day the Devil Came to Buffalo, a book that we worked together on. So let me just pull this up. So, chapter one, or actually, the book starts with an introduction. Okay, and so you guys know me by now. One of the ways that I'm able to power through some of these just horrific things that happen to our people, the way that I find a little bit of joy in a very dark spot is when I do these readings, I put on my little character voices. And I know that doesn't seem like much, but it gives me a little bit of joy when I do that. Okay, so I'm going to use my little character voices now and read you a little bit of his book. Okay, so the introduction for his book is called Hey Mama by Kanye West. That's his introduction for this book. Hey Mama by Kanye West. And it goes like this. My name is Mark Talley, and I'm 33 years old. Despite going to a Catholic high school and having somewhat of a Baptist upbringing, I've never been an overly religious kind of guy. Never gave much thought to the concepts of good and evil. But something happened, something that shook me to my core, something that convinced me that the devil is real. The date was May 14th, 2022, a day that will go down in history as the day the devil, disguised as a racist asshole with hate in his heart and a semi-automatic rifle, came to the east side of Buffalo and killed 10 innocent Black people at Tops Friendly Market. Geraldine Talley, my 62-year-old mother, was one of them. She was the last person he killed with 2 shots to the head before police calmly arrested him. I guess I can find a little solace in the fact that they didn't take him to Burger King afterwards, like they did when Dylan Roof, that other racist asshole, murdered 9 Black people during Bible study and worship at their church. Even though a year has passed since my mom was killed, there are days when I still can't mentally wrap my head around the fact that she's gone. I find myself some days just staring aimlessly at her driver's license, credit cards, and social security card, tearing up and hoping she'll call me. I still have her listed on my phone as my medical emergency contact in case something happens to me. When I have family problems with her siblings or my sister, I send her a playful but emotional message, hoping she'll respond and take care of everything. Unfortunately, I have yet to get a response I desperately need. Then there are other days when my heart hurts so much because I know I'm never going to see her again. Days when I spend hours reading and rereading old messages that we sent to each other. Days when I wish I could pay her cell phone bill, hoping she will pick up if I call her and I can hear her country accent just one more time. And days when I'm so angry at her for going to Tops instead of a bodega, a Family Dollar, a Dollar General, or whatever to get some deli meat. Sometimes when I'm lying awake in bed, minutes after waking up, missing my mom and feeling an emptiness inside, I find myself thinking about that song Kanye West, the old Kanye, performed in Paris 1 week after his mother died. In the song Hey Mama, Kanye sang, "Last night I saw you in my dreams. Now I can't wait to go to sleep." Ever since the day my mother died, sleeping has been one of the best parts of my reality because when I sleep, I dream. When I dream, she's not dead, she's alive. So for me, sleep represents little slices of life, because it's the portal to my dreams, a place where my mom still exists and I'm free to feel all the emotions hidden deep inside me. I rarely feel those emotions when I'm awake, not only due to my introverted nature, but also because I show behaviors that are characteristic of Asperger's syndrome, I'm told. This combination makes it almost impossible for the emotions I feel on the inside to match the emotions or lack thereof displayed on the outside. And when you add in the dark humor that I now realize I've been using to cope with my mom's unexpected death, some people say I don't love my mom, or they think I don't care and have a lack of empathy. On social media, I've had people message me saying, "You're glad your mother is dead," or comment on posts I make saying, "I don't think he even loved his mother." Someone even made a comment saying he's trying to profit off the death of his mother after I announced that I was writing a book. I've spent many hours over the last year retracing my steps on May 14th, from the time I awoke to the time my mother was killed, and wondering if there was something I could have done to change her fate. You know, maybe there was some cosmic sign I should have seen or some divine message I may have missed. But there is one thing I know for sure. If I had known on the morning of May 14th, 2022, that by 2:28 p.m. my mother would be dead, I would have done so many things differently that day. I would have stopped by her house and told her how much I love her. I would have thanked her for raising. Oh, pardon me for a minute, guys. My daughter is blowing up my phone. Once or her, she's going to keep calling. Well, hold on 1 minute. I'm so sorry. Okay, let me try that again. I would have stopped by her house and told her how much I love her. I would have thanked her for raising me as a single parent. I would have hugged her tight and apologized for being such a bullheaded kid growing up. And most importantly, I would have slashed the tires on her car to keep her home that day, or waited for her killer at the store and used my Rambo knife, as I call it, to slice and dice his face so bad no one would question the reason for a closed casket at his funeral. But the universe had other plans that day. And that's the end of his introduction.
That's very nice. I know we have gone over, but I appreciate you coming on, Jackie. And like I said, I know you're busy. I was thinking that we would do more of the readings, but now that your life is going in a different direction, um, I guess I'll just wait to hear from you. Probably gonna, maybe if you're able to walk and talk in the spring, we'll do some spring walks and talks, but who knows where the spring will take us. But I just want to thank you for coming on. Thank you for your time. And Belinda's saying thank you. So we have some new family, uh, new friends here on YouTube. I will also put Jackie's YouTube page in the description. And do you want me to add your email to the description? They
Yes,
can
you can
find you
give
in your
them.
social platforms as well. If you'd
Mhm.
like to,
Yes, you can put my
yeah, if you
email.
would like
You can
to.
put
Oh,
the link.
hi, Anjanette.
Thank you. There's
Thank you.
definitely a
Okay, so
delay.
I will put it in the description and you guys can. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what that is because it seems like all the signs are fine. So I'm not certain. You mentioned you had several different screens. I don't know. Do you have earbuds in?
I do. But we're at the mercy of technology. So we were able to make it through regardless.
Well, that's good. Well, you guys, hopefully, you can tune in next Saturday. I'm going to have Tracy Drayton on, who is participating in the Mrs. Colorado pageant, which I was in 2002. So she's also a breast cancer survivor. She will be on next Saturday. So hopefully you guys can subscribe and share. Thank you, Jackie, for coming on
Thank you.
and supporting Simply Jewel TV, supporting all my platforms. As always, you are always welcome. And hopefully I'll see you um, engaging in a few things that we have in the next few months. So thank you. And thanks to your daughters. You guys, I have my book and I
Yay.
wanted to say hello to Deborah and Delilah. Hopefully they'll get to come on as well. But have my book and I'm looking forward to the second um, book. So thank you for coming on, and I know you said you had calls coming in, so
Yep.
don't want to delay you any longer. But thank you for your support. And is there anything else you want to say as we say goodnight to the audience?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It is always a pleasure. Please do go on Amazon and purchase both Hush Money books. There is a third Hush Money book that will be coming out in February. So here are the two books that are out there right now. And the third book will be released in February. It's called Hush Money, The Black Employee's Guide to Fighting Racism in the Workplace. And it is a compilation of all of the strategies that I use throughout my career. It talks about how my strategies evolved as I got smarter, as my environments changed. And it teaches things like, how I was able to get a six-figure settlement and still collect unemployment, even though I resigned from my job. How I was able to, you know, take down these organizations, never set foot in a courtroom, and negotiate my own punitive damages so that in many cases, up to 50% of that settlement was untaxed. How I was able to just do all of these things, get a double settlement, get a settlement from this organization and a settlement from workman's comp for my one job. So this book that's coming out is powerful because it's a compilation of everything that I learned over the years. So definitely buy my books on Amazon to support me and my
Very
efforts
nice.
and to learn from me. And then definitely check out Mark's book, 514, The Day the Devil Came to Buffalo. It's also on Amazon. And if you search for my name on Amazon, you will find Mark's book because he listed me as having written the foreword.
Nice, nice. Well, I will look for it. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. And happy holidays to you.
Thank you.
All
You
right.
too.
Thanks for
And
tuning
thank you
in.
all.
And I'll say good night to everyone. All
Good night.
right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Good night. Thank you. Okay. Well, everybody, I just want to say thank you for having Jackie on. Thank you for participating. Um, oh, Okay, hopefully she'll watch the end, and I'll let her know as well that you purchased the book. Thank you for your support. Thank you guys for coming on. Tune in next week if you will. Um, like I said, we will have Tracy Drayton on, who is who is participating in the Mrs. Colorado pageant. She will be on at 6 p.m. next Saturday here on Simply Jewel TV. And for those that are just coming on, just subscribing, thank you very much. Feel free to check out all the other lives, all the other posts. You can go to my link tree to find all the other social platforms that I have. Feel free to do that. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to get in touch with me. I am a one-woman show, and just learning how to navigate through these platforms, but I appreciate your time and thank you again. So I will try and serenade you guys as we exit. And I just want to say thanks for coming on. So thank you. And let's see what I can do as we go out. Um, let's see here. Thanks for coming on. And this was the um, Saturday night talk. Who's taking up space? Okay. Peace and blessings, everyone. Good night.